it's an interesting system because it's, is there too much money here? Well, the school districts have different pots that the state puts different money in different pots to each school district. So you have categorical funding. In some districts is very large, in other districts very small. The language of the school districts is to the uninitiated, is bewildering. Only in California is a qualified school district something bad, and a basic school district, is something really good. And the idea is a basic school district has enough property tax revenue, it doesn't need state support. And a qualified school system is a school district that has mismanaged their finances so that they are only operating under the watch of the County Board of Education and may end up under the control of the State Board of Education. So that was learning there on the advisory committee, going to the board meetings. Again, having lived in the rural Davis, out towards Plainfield, actually. We don't have cable television there. So if you want to see a school board meeting, until we got the internet connection, you had to go down to the meeting and watch what was going on. And that was always much more, I learned that was a much more interesting experience than just watching it on television. A case in point is that while the board was considering what about Emerson School, whether the junior high school should be maintained, should it be closed, should it be rebuilt somewhere, built again. I saw the architect during the meeting, waiting to give his report, and I saw him in the lobby, and so we struck up a conversation. And I asked him what the problem was with Emerson, short and to the point. He said there was nothing wrong with Emerson Junior High, except that it had never really been maintained. And the problem with school district finance, as it's set by the state, it's always easier to build new schools. There's always plenty of money to build something new, but there's never any money to maintain them. And the way I look at it, if we have to raise property taxes through a parcel tax to pay for our school district, it will benefit us if we included maintenance on our buildings in there than not. Because if we do that, we won't have to be in the position of passing a bond measure that would send half of all the money all the money that the bond measure would raise would go to banks back east or Europe. So you have, if you look at, for instance, Los Angeles Unified School District, it cannot pass a parcel tax to pay for instructional education. It just, the voters, it cannot reach the 2/3 threshold. But 55% every 2 years will support multi-billion-dollar bond issues to build bigger buildings, and they say, well, we'll build smaller buildings. So the property tax impact in Los Angeles is very high compared, I think, to the Davis Unified School District, but it's all going to facilities. And we benefit by on a limited, temporary, for a limited term, parcel tax, focused on education, and that way we don't, all the money we raise is spent locally. And I think that's a real boost to our economy. Mm-hmm. I've always said that the most efficient taxes I pay are the school property taxes, the parcel tax, because every dollar goes into this community, and those dollars are all spent here locally. If the state raised taxes to fully fund education, most of what I would be paying would go down to Southern California. And again, focus down to the big school districts. So unfortunately, under the system we have to fashion our own school system that can, I think, support our community. And for the same reason that my family moved here for the schools. I think I want to have other families moving here for the schools in the future. And if that doesn't happen, we could very well slip, and we'll be down to a level that schools just wouldn't. It would really adversely affect the community if our school system suffered.
You've answered much of this, although a lot of it was dealing with the state issues a bit. But what prompted you to run for school board? Kind of explain why you're running, especially with the three incumbents running. What makes you different?
Well, the last 5 years have been a tumultuous 5 years for the school district. There's been crisis after crisis has arisen. It's been really rough waters. And having gone to the meetings and followed the difficulties of the district, that I think I can provide a fresh perspective, one new face on the board that can, focus the board more in dealing with these problems sooner rather than later. Not to be in a position where we're putting things off, kick the can down the road. Instead, deal with these problems as they come up. The basic problem was when the school board decided not to run a parcel tax in November. And everyone who I've ever talked to said, well, if you run a parcel tax, you never wait to the last minute, the last election cycle. Give yourself some breathing room so that if there's an anomaly, if there's a problem with the election, you have a second chance to run that. But by the board's decision of us saying, well, we'll go before the voters in May of 2011. Well, if there's a problem with that election, where are they going to cut $4.5 million between May and June 30th? And there's not time enough to run another election. So it's a really all or nothing proposition. At the same time, I believe the board should be now engaging the community, the public, and fashioning that parcel tax, asking voters, what do you want to, what kind of school system do you want to have? If we don't pass a supplementary measure, what are you willing to have cut? And I think that's I think the community would rally around straight talk from the school board, but instead, the problem is, having dealt with the last year's issue, they feel that there's no impetus to have this.